We're supposed to have a conversation. Well,
yeah, we will. We have 20 minutes today.
Okay, so I've been trying an experiment when I give talks, and it goes like this. I know a lot of people like to tweet the talk or blog the talk while it's happening. Everybody has laptops open. And I just have a suggestion, and it's not any, like, judgment or, I'll think any less of you if you don't take my suggestion. But the experiment to try is just to not tweet or blog during the talk, not because what I say is something that you'll necessarily think is great or because I think you'll agree with me or anything like that. But the thing is, if you wait till later and you remember anything I said enough to tweet about it or blog about it then it'll actually filter through your brain and then you'll be there. That really makes you exist. Instead of just being like this relay in this supposed global brain that we're building. And so it just makes you exist. It's just a way to notice yourself. And so it's a thing worth trying. And if you find that exercise to work, if you notice there's a bit more of you if you wait than if you did it in real time, then that would be cool. So that's a thought. Okay. So what I want to talk about is Silicon Valley these days is characterized by this kind of clash of opposites. And on the one side, there's the Steve Jobs thing, which is, I will control your content, I will censor Ulysses, I will censor Mark Fiore, I will make the perfect experience for you, you will be the perfect magic individual because you are within my, whatever. And it's a really odd thing. I have a little private theory about the psychology of it, I'll share with you. Way long ago, he and a buddy, Daniel Kottke, who was Apple's first employee, went to India together to go and find gurus and find enlightenment and stuff. And I've always thought that, because I've been around the scene for a really long time, and my impression back then was that Steve Jobs came back from India, and instead of saying, oh, I found enlightenment, or instead of going through what John Lennon did and sort of being pissed off at the gurus, he said, wow, I want that job. Those gurus, they get like all this devotion from all these people, and they get worshipped, and they don't treat them very well. That's part of the psychology. And I think that what he said is he's recreated the guru business that he learned about very young in the iTunes model. And so we should give credit to India, not just for Bangalore, but also for a business model, which proves to be durable. All right, and then on the opposite of that, on the other side of the clash, is the let's everything be open, the Linux, Pirate Bay, blah, 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 BitTorrent, 4chan, blah, blah, blah. And the thing about that one that's weird is that it's not honest, because it's not really open. It's like a lot of stuff's open, but we don't get to really look at what's everything on the server at Google or everything on the server at Facebook. Like the people who make a business of it are the secretest things ever, right? The deep secrets. So there's this weird, there's like this hyper-secrecy that accompanies the supposed openness, where like there are this huge differential. If everything was really open, then there wouldn't be a business model for Google, for instance, because everybody could find everybody else, and the whole advertising thing would fall apart. There has to be a differential for the business model to exist. So there's this weird clash of opposites, and my basic hypothesis, or the point of view I've come to, is that both of them are sort of not optimal, and they're also not separable from each other. You can't have the sort of open, you can't have the Linux model without creating Steve Jobs, and vice versa. They need each other, and they exist in this sort of immovable embrace, even though they seem to be opposed. And that there's actually, at least potentially, a better third way, or middle path, which was the original idea for the web way back with Ted Nelson and Xanadu, which I'll get to in a second. But let me just say a bit more about these two clashing titanic forces. On the open side, there's two questions I have. All right, one of them is, you said something interesting, which is, first that I agree with, which is that a lot of the attitude of Silicon Valley innovation has been creative destruction in the sense of killing a bunch of jobs and then something new comes about. But here's the question. Are there going to be new jobs this time? Are we creating these new jobs? Because the story we've been telling ourselves. Now, sometimes we're wrong about ourselves in a sort of a stupid way. Sometimes we think we're doing something stupid, we're actually doing something smart. So we can be meta stupid and actually end up being smart. But the particular thing we're telling ourselves right now does seem to be kind of stupid. And the thing we're telling ourselves is that even though we've pulled a lot of the commerce out of a whole bunch of things that we've networked, like freelance music, illustrating, journalism, all these things, where it's much harder to make a living than it used to be, we're creating new opportunities for all those people because they can advertise themselves better and make new business models, selling t-shirts or events like you do or whatever. So I've done a lot of research on musicians because I am one and I have a lot of access to that world. And so far as I can tell, that's a lie. I just don't think it's borne out. Right. And we've had enough time that we should see results.
The thing that I'm kind of focused on right now is, like that information, that's a reality. More and more information is being uploaded. So, but businesses are being driven by being, taking that information and being a lot more efficient. And so they're not thinking, when they think to solve problems today, they're thinking about, I gotta saddle, I gotta harness my information to be better with it. They're not thinking like the old days where, I gotta hire more people.
Yeah, so do you have any story in your head about where these new jobs come from?
I think we're going to live with high unemployment for a long time.
Yeah, see, so that worries me.
Worries me too.
Yeah.
I think we're going to live
so look, here's the thing though. If you go back to the 19th century, when industrialization really started to take off, right, there was this huge anxiety about people being made obsolete. Okay, and that was John Henry and the Luddites, all these. It was the stuff of popular culture, this fear of being made obsolete. It's a lot of what motivated Marxism. Right. If you read Marx, in fact, I have this great experience. It's in the book, I think. I don't remember if you made me find this out of the book or not. But a long time ago, I was driving around here. By the way, I do live in Berkeley now, but I've also lived in Palo Alto for even, I think, more time. So I'm equally, I'm not a partisan of Berkeley. I was listening to this rant on the radio, and it was all this stuff about how barriers between markets are falling, efficiencies are being created so that capital can flow with ever greater efficiency. Old types of labor are being made obsolete. And I was thinking, wow, God, I'm so sick of hearing all this Silicon Valley swagger. We've got to get some new lines. I'm so tired of this. I thought it could have been one of your, I hate to say this, but it sounded like one of your, it turned out to be an anniversary reading of Das Kapital by Marx. If you just read some sections of that and cut out the stuff of its time, it really sounds like us. It's so strange. And the reason why was that Marx was actually responding to the anxiety of people being made obsolete by technology getting better. It was just, so anyway, so what I think happened, my impression is that a sort of a social contract arose between technologists and the world at large that will always keep in the back of our minds that as we innovate and we make somebody's labor obsolete, we'll kind of looking out for things that are better jobs, more dignified, more creative, more intellectual, less dangerous, and we'll sort of keep the pipeline going. And so I've come to think as a technologist, that doesn't necessarily take care of itself from day to day. And it's one thing if there's like unemployment for 6 months. If it's like for 10 years, that's a whole generation. And we probably actually have some responsibility not just to be innovators, but also to be socially responsible and think it through. Not that I have any magic formulas for how to do that, but I don't think it's a sort of a violation of pure libertarianism to think that way, but I think we might have to do it just to keep the whole thing going. Because it's not just Obama who loses popularity, it's modernity. I mean, the thing is, if you look at those numbers for Obama, you'll see something else going on. You'll see a chart for fundamentalism going up too. If modernity isn't working for people, they won't support it. And we rely on the world at large supporting modernity. And we should never forget that. We're here, even though we're an elite, even though we're rich and successful, we're still a minority in the world and we live here at the pleasure of the majority. It's still true, no matter how rich we get from our servers. Okay, so fundamentally we have to think about this at some point. Another thing I want to say about your graph and information, one of the things that has been bugging me increasingly, and I haven't written about this yet, but I think I will, is that I was talking about the clash of these two titans, the one represented by Steve Jobs and the other represented by some combination of Linux and Pirate Bay, Google and Facebook or something like this. All this supposed openness that actually has a secret core, or WikiLeaks is another one, supposed openness that actually has this really secret core where somebody's hogging power.